Hello and welcome to episode 71 of the Fierce Fatty podcast. I'm your host, Victoria Wellsby, and today we're talking about when you think other fat people are attractive, but not yourself. Let's do it.
Perfect.
I'm Victoria Wellsby, TEDx speaker, best-selling author, and fat activist. I have transformed my life from hating my body with desperately low self-esteem to being a courageous and confident, fierce fatty who loves every inch of this jelly. Society teaches us living in a fat body is bad, but what if we spent less time, money, and energy on the pursuit of thinness and instead focused on the things that actually matter, like if pineapple on pizza should be outlawed, or if the mullet was the greatest haircut of the 20th century. So, how do you stop negative beliefs about your fat body controlling your life? It's the Fierce Fatty podcast. Let's begin. Hello, Fatty. Welcome to this podcast. I'm feeling inspired. I just had a one-on-one call with one of my one-on-one coachees, and I feel really excited to hear what you all are getting up to and what's ahead of you. I'm just like, fuck yeah, you just go and fucking do it and rule the world. So I'm excited. Every time I come off a call with people, I'm like, the world is good. If you want to chat with me one-on-one, then you can do that. You can go to my website. Can't remember the link. Probably fiercefatty.com/coaching. I remember the Fierce Fatty bit, but fiercefatty.com/coaching, I'm pretty sure. If not, then you'll work it out. Yeah. So hey. I've been talking to you about all this fucking technical issues, palaver that I've been having. I've not been able to upload any podcast episode to the drive for my team to be able to turn it into magic stuff. Because my internet is so shit, and I've been on the internet, I've been on the phone to the internet people, and it's taking like a bajillion years to get fixed. So there was a gap of hopefully just 1 week. Hopefully we've got it sorted, and it was just 1 week where you didn't have Fierce Fatty podcast. But that is the first time in the history of the podcast that we have missed a week. I feel pretty proud of myself for never missing a week and it being a technical difficulty. I don't think so anyway. No, people were like, actually, you missed like 10 weeks here. But in other good news, I don't know if you've been following me on the Instagrams. This whole palaver that I've been having of getting through to the Canada Revenue Agency, it's been weeks of me calling them up, being on hold for, the record was 3.5 hours before they just hung up. Normally they hang up 2 hours in, between 2 hours and 2.5 hours, they just hang up. And I just need to get my account unlocked. Anyway, I got a call yesterday and it was the CRA saying you requested a callback a month ago and we're giving you that callback. And I thought, holy shit, Christmas miracles do happen. And I had requested a call back and they said, we'll call you back within 48 hours a month ago. And so because they didn't call me back, I was like, well, that's not going to happen. And the only reason I got to request a call back, to speak to someone to request a call back, is because I have a business tax account, right? And so I called the business number thinking I could sneak in and get some personal, unlocking of my account. But they said, no, we can't help you, but we'll get them to call you back. So if you're trying to get through to the CRA, call the business line. Get them to call you back, and they'll maybe call you back within a month. And she unlocked my account. Done. I was just like, oh my God. I was on the phone to her and I was like, thank you so much for calling. You don't even know how long I've been trying to get through. I've been so stressed about it. So my life is improving. I have an unlocked tax account. Hurrah for me. As the I'm going to be talking about COVID shit now. If you want to avoid it, then skip ahead. I don't know, 10 minutes maybe. So COVID shit. As the vaccine is being rolled out, hurrah! In some places, fat people are classed as high risk and are getting the vaccine first. Now, not in all places, but in some places, and the UK, I think, is one of those places. And because of that, of course, the fat phobes are out. Of course, the fat phobes are out. Out there to be like, look at these fat people draining the money from the system by being fat. By the way, we're going to get into this in a sec. There's still no evidence to show that fat people are dying from COVID any more than straight-sized people. In fact, we have good evidence to show that being fat protects you from dying from COVID. But who needs science when you can have sensationalized headlines blaming the fat people yet again? Because that's more interesting, right? But this is a case. If you are in a community where you're getting the vaccine first because you are fat and you've been classed as high risk, this is a case of fat phobia for once working in our benefit, working in our favor. Fine, if you want to class us as high risk and we can get the vaccine first, knock yourself out. And someone asked in a Facebook group saying, that she felt guilty about the fact that there are actual high-risk people who need the vaccine. And yeah, totally, I get that, absolutely. But also, so as a fat person, fat people, we experience medical discrimination, right? And so our health outcomes, poorer health outcomes associated with fat bodies, a lot of the times can be caused by discrimination, by fat people not seeking out treatment, getting treatment late, being diagnosed diets, all that type of jazz. And so whenever we come in contact with the medical system, we are higher risk because of fat phobia. And so we are higher risk because we are treated less than if we come in contact, not all the time, but a lot of times systemically with medical services. And so this is a great way to protect yourself from that medical fat phobia. So don't feel guilty about getting the vaccine if you're fat, because it's protecting you from COVID and from having to deal with the medical system if you did get COVID, which means that you'd be at higher risk because you have a fat body because of medical discrimination. So there's still no evidence that fat people are dying at a higher rate or have a higher risk of dying from COVID. Still, okay? We're in Feb 2021, still. Now, this all this shit started going down like over a year ago. And so fat people have been dealing with these messages of, a new study came out. Turns out that all fat people are going to spontaneously combust. And then fat people are like, oh my God, is it true? And then people look at the studies and they say, oh, no, this study isn't saying that. And in fact, the study is garbage and it's not peer reviewed and it's not looking at these other factors, et cetera, et cetera. And whenever a study has come out like this, newspapers have, made the headline, oh, fat people, they're just running around eating children and shit, whatever it is. And it's not based in good science or any science. So there's one that recently came out and it was shared in The Guardian. The Guardian is a British newspaper. It's the type of newspaper that I would read. And so when you see stuff from The Guardian, and I know obviously they're not, they're not perfect, they are more like left wing, but they had the title of the article was, "O word increases risk of death from COVID by 48%. Oh my God. So if you saw that, O word, increases risk of, they're not saying O word, this is me saying O word, increases risk of death from COVID by 48%. Holy shit. Run for the hills. Let's immediately go on a diet because we don't want to die, right? So in the fat studies group I'm in, someone shared this and wanted the science buffs to look at this to see, is this true? Do you know what I'm going to say? Is this true? Okay, so Louise Adams, she's the host of All Fired Up podcast. She's Australian. Great podcast. Go follow her. Amazing. So, science boffin, nerd about the house. One thing that Louise said is about this study that says 48% risk of dying if you're fat. So 35 studies were included. 4 studies showed that individuals with O word may decrease in hospital mortality. Insignificant association in 14 studies. So that's 18 out of 35 studies, almost half not showing an association. Then they pooled the data from all 35 studies. They included dodgy studies in the meta-analysis. My guess, if they didn't, there would have been a statistical significance achieved. There wouldn't have been a statistical significance achieved. Basically, okay, so what this study has done is said, okay, let's look at these 35 studies. Let's make sure that we add in these shit studies. Okay, when I say shit studies, I mean studies like a low number of people in the study, not good data, not peer reviewed, not looking for any confounding factors, like race, socioeconomic status, previous health conditions, all that type of stuff. So this is, junk science. And so they're including this junk science that have said, oh, fat people are going to die. And make sure that they include these junk science into the analysis that they're looking at, because they show the stats that they want to show. So they're like, okay, we will need to show that fat people are dying. These studies aren't good. Fuck it. We'll put them in anyway. These studies are showing that there's no association, or in fact, fat people are decrease in hospital mortality. Don't look at those. They don't mean anything. So also, as well, in all of these studies, there's no control for weight bias, race, socioeconomic status, health stuff, anything like that. So don't trust that because people are saying it on the news or in newspapers, it's good science. Journalists aren't scientists, and journalists are there to provide entertainment and flashy headlines, to provide a story. And it sucks, right? It sucks that we can't just be like, oh, someone shared something on Facebook and this study showing that fat people like eating children, and it's true. 48% of fat people eat children. But we have to remember that journalists aren't immune from fat phobia, right? Because they're people. Organizations aren't immune from fat phobia because they're people. And there was a large scale, so this is something different, but there's a large scale study of 375,859 people. So 375,000 people in this study that they're looking at the data. And I'm going to link to this study in, an overview of the study, which then you can find the link to the actual study, because anyway, yeah, I'm going to link that this study found that fat people were in hospital, but they weren't the ones dying. Okay, so of the things that cause risk of someone dying, they had the things that mean that you are higher risk, and they showed that there were lots of fat people in hospital, but that didn't mean that the fat people were dying. So a note here: the high prevalence of fat people admitted to hospital with COVID is probably partly due to a willingness to proactively admit diabetics for early stage medical intervention, partly due to the fact that fat people tend to work risky, low-paid jobs and are less likely to be able to work from home. Because fat phobia, right? So this is a study of almost 400,000 people showing fat people, they're not a higher risk for dying. Lordy. Okay, so this is an update. So this is an update from Feb 17th. So if you're seeing stuff coming out saying, oh, look at the fat people, they're ruining the world. No. And if a new study does come out, look at the study, okay? Go through the study. Don't just read the article that says, everyone's going to spontaneously combust if they 1 pound heavier or whatever. Look at the study that they're citing and see what the summary says. So you don't have to, if you're like, oh, I don't know how to read it, that's fine. In studies, they'll have a little blurb showing, this is what we did and these are our findings. And then the study will go into all of the information. And so look at the study, and if at the top it's like their study is like, we surveyed 2 people on the street. 1 person was fat and 1 person was thin. The fat person had previously had COVID. That means that 100% of fat people get COVID. And then, the headline is 100% of people get COVID, fat people are all going to die. And then you look at the study and you're like, hang on a minute. They just spoke to 2 people on the street. This doesn't seem like it has any type of basis in science. And obviously I'm exaggerating, right? Like, they're probably not going to be that shit of a study, but things like that, then we know that it's not good science. The studies will tell you the numbers and the amounts and all that type of stuff. So, yeah. And if you're confused, that's fine. Just ask someone who is a study reader, a science nerd, a boffin, an egghead. Ask one of those and ask them, what does this say? And and see what they say. And then you'll be like, motherfuckers. And who knows, right? There could be a study that comes out tomorrow that says we have analysed 500,000 patients and it turns out that fat people die from COVID at a higher rate or whatever. And it could be good science. And, we don't know. But at the moment, nothing is indicating that. And also, if a study comes out tomorrow saying, fat people are dying or whatever, we also need to look at, are they looking at all of the other things that are going on with the person? So are they able to say it's the actual fat cells on their body that is causing this? Or is it something else that's causing this? Are they able to say it's because they have more fat on their body? Right? So, another thing. Oh, fat news. This is fat news. Marilyn Wan. If you don't know Marilyn Wan is the best. Oh my God. Go and get Fatso. It's like it's a really fun little book that I think came out in the 90s. It's got like cool illustrations of a fat person dancing that you flip through. That's not the whole book, but it's cool. Marilyn Wan is amazing, and something that she shared that I wanted to share: content warning, intentional weight loss, eating disorder. So this is Marilyn's word. The fat hate eugenicists are excited to announce that high doses of an existing diabetes drug seriously messes with the body's appetite regulating, aka survival system, and damages people's awareness of hunger. Why would anyone want such a thing? Modest amounts of short-term weight loss, of course. Who wants to bet that people's bodies will adapt to this drug and regain weight in the long term? Did researchers collect long-term data? Nah. Who needs long-term data? The research study urging this off-label drug use was funded by the company that makes the drug. Do we know what possible harms people will suffer from taking high doses of this drug basically forever? Nah. If you make fat people's lives so miserable with this kind of fat hate worldview that risk of unknown bodily harm is preferable to living in our very own bodies, you can sell lots of prescriptions until your drug is debunked or recalled or something. I'm not naming the drug or linking to this yuck. Always remember that this approach to medicine imagines that all fat people are hungry, hungry hippos. That's so tragically funny. I love that. That all fat people are hungry, 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 hungry hippos. And that our constant eating 100% explains why we're fat. It couldn't possibly be true that fat people are part of humanity or that fat people deserve to exist as we are. And then she's put a too long, didn't read at the bottom, a summary of this. As Deb Burgard always says, they prescribe for fat people the same behaviors they diagnose in thin people. So if you're getting any kind of... These motherfuckers are always trying this shit with different drugs. Oh, turns out this drug will make you lose weight. Yeah, but it... gives you a heart attack. Oh, who cares? You'll be thin when you're dying. Oh, LOL. So I don't know if you know about Fen-Phen. Oh, when was this out? Like, I need to be reminded when Fen-Phen was out. So the Fen-Phen was this drug, right? I know, 80s, 90s. I don't think it was the 2000s. Let's say 90s. And it made people lose weight, but it also killed a shit ton of people. And the company's like, well, small side effect. They're making them thin. Eventually, it was recalled. And that wasn't the end of diet drugs. They weren't like, oh, fuck, trying to make people thin with these drugs that have massive, crazy, weird side effects and it also kills them is a bad thing. Maybe let's study this longer. Let's do better by fat people. No. They carry on with this bullshit all the time because it's a fucking gold mine. Imagine if there was a drug that you could just take, no side effects, just makes you thin. That would sell like bananas, wouldn't it? So many people just would desperately want that and need that. I say need that as in they think they need that. They don't need it. So, yeah, there's some fat news for you. So if you're feeling funny and weird about COVID and new quote-unquote studies that are coming out saying that you're an evil person, you're probably not an evil person. I don't know you personally. You might be. You're probably not. But it's not because you're fat that makes you evil. And word of warning, don't take drugs to make yourself thin because they're probably gonna kill you or someone else. I remember when I was in working in recruitment, the guy next to me was like a big gym buff and he was like, oh hey, like the summer's coming up, do you want to lose some weight? And I was like, what? And he handed over the cubicle these vials of steroids. And he was like, here, yeah, just like women take it all the time to lose weight. And the summer's coming up, you can lose a few pounds. And I was like, let me look at this. And I was looking at the vials and I was like, maybe not. And I think it was only because you had to probably inject yourself. And I was probably on the way to learning about this stuff. But, a year earlier, I probably would have been like, fuck it, why not? If I become thin, who cares that I got it from some dodgy guy that I work next to in his cubicle? I only know his first name, Oh, fucking fat phobia can suck my dangling tits, is what it can do. Okay, so when you think other fat people are attractive, but not yourself, let's have a little chinwag about that. And I know we've been talking about this other stuff for a while, but it's interesting. It's interesting, isn't it, all this shit? Anyway, so when you think other fat people are attractive, but not yourself, this happens all the time. So Honestly, I ask people questions all the time, and I poll people, and I send out surveys to try and work out what what you're thinking and believing. And such a common one, which is really consistent, is other fat people are attractive. Intellectually, I know it's okay to be fat, but when I look at my body, I'm like, no thanks. So I want to talk about the two things that could be going on here in that gorgeous noggin of yours to make you think like that. And by the way, if you're thinking like that, 1,000,000,000% normal. Bajillion, 1,000,000,000% normal. 1,000,000,000% normal. So don't feel bad. Don't feel bad that you think like that. It's normal, okay? So first thing to note here is what could be going on is that you still have fat phobic beliefs. Not what could be going on, you still have fat phobic beliefs. Everyone has fat phobic beliefs. To what degree? I have fat phobic beliefs, right? They're so deep dark down that, one day I'll uncover another one and be like, oh shit, Victoria, why were you thinking that, you bad person? But, obviously you're not a bad person. You are a human being living in society. So you have fat phobic beliefs, right? And you are probably still holding on to them more than you think so. Like I mentioned, you intellectually know that it's okay to fat, but you secretly, or maybe not so secretly, just wish that you were not fat or that you were thin. If I came along with that magic wand and was like, okay, this magic wand makes you automatically thin. Do you want it? You're like, fuck yeah. You might be like, will anyone find out that I've taken this magic wand? I'll just keep it a secret. Like, I don't want people to find out. So you have fat phobic beliefs. And looking at this, why? Okay, why? Fat phobic beliefs, it's complicated, but they are protecting you. Because if you become thin, then society will accept you. You'll get better healthcare, you'll get more dates, you'll experience less shame and stigma. And who the fuck wouldn't want that? Right? So your own fat phobic beliefs are spurring you on to get to a place of societal acceptance, which will improve your life. Okay? So why the fuck would you not want that, right? Why is it so hard and difficult to challenge these fat phobic beliefs? Well, they serve us in some way. But here's the kicker. The reality is that holding fat phobic beliefs isn't going to make you thin. If it did, we'd all be fucking thin, right? If holding fat phobic beliefs made us thin, everyone would be thin. But it doesn't. And so it's not helpful, because holding fat phobic beliefs and holding on to shame makes us fatter. And of course, there's nothing wrong with being fatter. Shame makes us do things like try dieting. And dieting, as we know, is mostly very unsuccessful. Most people put weight back on, and a lot of people, 2/3 of people, put more weight on than they started with. And then you'll be bigger. And then if you're bigger, then you're going to experience more shame and more fat phobia. And so it's not a useful motivation. But our brains are kind of like, but if we were just thin, then our lives would be better. And the thing is, life would be easier. Like, I'm not, it's true. Life would be easier if you had a smaller body, because you'll be moving into a privileged class. It's very rare for people to be able to move from a marginalized identity into one which is privileged. And this is one of those cases where you can. And it's so complicated because you're like, I don't want to be buying into this societal bullshit, but I want relief from this pain. So, fat phobic beliefs are protecting you. also with your fat phobic beliefs, you're holding yourself to a higher standard. Have you noticed how you do that? Have you noticed how we all do this, right? You're like, well, it's fine for other people to be fat and they look good even, but me? No, thank you. And it's not that your body is actually worse than other people's bodies, like these other fat people that you're looking at and being like, oh, they're so cute, but they are this and they are that, and they don't have my tits that hit my knees or whatever. They don't have my belly that's, really big or whatever it is that's so especially bad about your body. So it's not that their bodies are actually worse than your body. It's that you're comparing someone's, you've heard this probably a million times before, you're comparing someone's highlight reel to your behind the scenes. These pictures of fat people that you're seeing on the internet, or even if you see a fat person out and about, and you're like, oh, they look so good. They've dressed up. I bet if someone who had the exact same body as you dressed up, they had all the zhuzhing, someone had run a comb through their hair in a specific way. They had good lighting. They knew how to pose, or someone told them how to pose. The image was edited, off the runway fashion. I'm like, LOL. Fat people get off the runway fashion. Humor me. There, some cool clothes. If you saw someone with the exact same body as you, and also maybe they're wearing Spanx, maybe like, well, their tummy is so flat. Is it? You don't know what's going on. Maybe they fucking, wrap their body in like 12 inches of bandages to make themselves smaller. You don't know. Anyway, so if you saw that, I bet you'd be like, damn, they look so good. I wish I looked like them. And they have got the exact same body as you. So those people don't look like that 99% of the time. They've zhuzhed themselves up for a photo to put on Instagram. They're not going to take a photo of themselves when they, they've just rolled out of bed and put it on Instagram, are they? Even me, the way that I present to you is better than what I look like normally. Right. And on a day-to-day, right? When I'm doing a podcast or doing a video, right? So this podcast is made into a video. I'll put on some mascara. I'll pick a top that I think looks nice. I will put on some lippy. I'll make sure that my hair isn't the normal. When I wake up, how if you have short hair, it's slept in and it's like there's a big dent in your hair and your hair is all over the place, right? I'm not making a video of me getting out of bed, drool stains on my face, that dried spit, those sleepy things in your eyes, smeared mascara because I forgot to take it off the night before. I'm not doing a video like that. Why is the question? Why? Why don't I do a video like that? I'm gonna ponder that. But anyway, I don't, right? And so you might be looking at someone like me and be like, oh, well, she's so put together or whatever. And, or you might not be thinking that. You might be like, she's a fucking mess. But if you are thinking, oh, well, they're so good. Well, what did they do to do that? And what's their lighting? And has someone edited their photos and smoothed things out? But the reality of who they are and what they look like is probably closer to that got out of bed, are covered in their own feces type of thing, versus that glammed up version that you're seeing and that you're like, I wish I looked like them. They're so beautiful, but not me. And your day-to-day version is, you hanging out in leggings and a sweating jumper or whatever. And they probably are looking more like that too. And so they probably look more like you in the day-to-day life anyway. Yeah. So we're comparing like our day-to-day self to an Instagram model. And don't even forget as well, a lot of people on Instagram, they are very conscious about posing and posing in a really cool way. And so you're looking yourself in the mirror and, you know, arms are by your side and you're just standing there. And if you took a picture of someone just standing there, this person that you're like, oh, they are attractive and I'm not, and they were just standing there, just like standing there in a pose, it's totally normal. But that is not what we see online. And so it's not normal for us to see just like a human standing there in the mirror. Or, you know, when you open the camera on your phone and you get like a shot of underneath your chin, you're like, Jesus Christ, why am I so ugly? You know, that's not the pictures that we're seeing online. We're seeing something that's very, you know, edited. I'm not even saying that the images are edited, but, you know, posing in a certain way that's interesting, visually interesting. And then you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, I'm not visually interested. In fact, I'm horrible and ugly and whatever it is that you're thinking. Right. That's why a lot of times when people do boudoir shots can be really helpful for people because you have a photographer there who's like pose like this, who's got the good light, who's able to edit things without, you know, edit things as in, you know, make sure the colors right or whatever. Don't want to like Photoshop you, but then they're able to see themselves after a boudoir shot. They're like, fuck, look at me, because they're able to see themselves in the lens that we're presenting bodies all the time. And not saying that that's good or bad. It's just, that's just the way it is of, you know, you're holding yourself to a different standard, right? Right. Okay. So the next part of this, so the first part was you still have fatphobic beliefs. And the next part is that you are maybe a perfectionist. I tell you what, when I was in recruitment, the amount of times I had to tell people, don't fucking say that your weakness is that you're a perfectionist. Everyone used to be like, oh, this is fucking golden. When they ask me what my weakness is, I'm going to tell them I'm just too fucking dedicated. I'm just such a fucking perfectionist. I'm just on time too much. I'm just too good looking. I'm like, cut that shit out. It's bullshit. And if you are a perfectionist, that's not a good thing. Who wants to know? No. Ugh. If you're using that in your interviews, if you're interviewing for jobs and that's what's your weakness, don't say that you're a perfectionist. And don't say something like, oh, you know, I'm just a piece of shit and I like to steal and I actually just play games on my phone when I'm working. You know, some people are like, tell the truth. Don't do that either. So being a perfectionist, it's not a positive thing. It's anxiety and fear around being judged. And people say, you know, I'm a perfectionist as in I have high standards. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about high standards. I'm talking about when you are so afraid of people judging you that you work on something yourself, a project, whatever it is, so much so that it's never good enough. You're not good enough. It never can be good enough because you're striving towards perfection and that does not exist. And being a perfectionist is that we're trying to control the situation so that others don't judge us harshly. If you are perfect, others won't judge you harshly, is what we are telling ourselves. That is not true. Others will judge you harshly, whether you're quote unquote perfect or if you are, what's the opposite of perfect? Imperfect. But I was trying to say, like, not imperfect is what I'm trying to say. You know, if you're bad, you know, if you're bad in whatever way that you construe that. So this means that we often don't take action because we can't be perfect. The situation can't be perfect. We can't be perfect. So if we can't be perfect, we don't take action. And I want to recognize and point out that perfectionism can also be a symptom of a mental health issue. And so if you're struggling with that, then perhaps extra support could be really helpful for you with this, with a mental health professional. So with perfectionism, we want to make sure that we are good and okay, and that's fine, right? Like, it's not a bad thing to want to make sure that you're okay and that you're good and that you're presenting yourself in the best way possible. Like, you don't want to be walking out the house with some toilet roll hanging out the back of your trousers, right? But it's not realistic to think that every inch of your fat is disguised and that your makeup looks so good that it distracts from your fatness, or whatever it is, that your appearance is so perfect that people are going to be like, I didn't even notice that you were fat. That used to be a strategy of mine. Like, try and distract them with various things so that they do not notice that I'm fat. Of course they fucking notice that I'm fat, because I'm fat. That's what I used to do before. Now I'm just like, yo, motherfucker, I'm fat. So it's okay to want to put your best foot forward, but not to a point where you are not doing stuff because you're trying to manage what other people think. And also the idea of waiting to feel perfect, waiting to feel perfectly confident before doing the confident things. So waiting to feel perfect before taking action. We can be prepared, but it's never going to be perfect. Say if you want to do something that's a bit scary for you, that is confident. For example, wearing a swimsuit at the pool. So a lot of people are like, well, when I'm confident, I'll do that. When I'm feeling a bit better, I'll do that. When. And you can prepare, like you can like, okay, I'll buy a swimsuit that I feel 50% okay in, because I know that I'm not going to feel 100% okay in because this is new and uncomfortable. I can buy, a hat or something to try and hide my face if I'm feeling scared. And I can get my friend to come with me. And still, people are going to be looking at me, probably won't really give a shit, but I'm still shitting my pants. It's not perfect, but I'm going to do it. But with perfectionism, it's, okay, I have to find the perfect swimsuit that I feel like Lizzo in. Then I have to go on the perfect day to the perfect place, and the people who are there, they have to look like they are not fat phobic. Maybe if I go and if there's fat people there, only fat people there, and fat people who are not even paying attention to me, they're just reading a book about how awesome it is to be fat, then I'll do it, and then I'll feel more confident. Well, that's not going to fucking happen, right? So, yeah, it's no, it's not good. Okay, so, and then also the idea of thinking that if you are perfect, you won't get judged. Bitch, you're getting judged no matter what. We are getting judged no matter what. No matter if we present ourselves, quote unquote, perfectly, or if we, roll out of bed with that dribble on our face, We are getting judged. We are getting judged always. You're judging everyone. I'm judging everyone. We're all judging everyone. It's, just a part of society. And it's not like we're walking around being like, oh, fuck you, bitch, or whatever. But we need to make assumptions about people to make sure that they're safe and things like that, and try and work out who they are before we know them. It's just part of what humans do. So you're going to get judged. So just do the fucking thing. No matter what, you're going to get judged. And if you want proof of this, think about like the best books ever written, the best movies ever created. Go and check out reviews of them. That book that changed your life, that film that could not be any better no matter what, go check out a review. There's going to be so many people being like, nah, just didn't get it. Nah, it's a bit shit. Not my cup of tea. This is the worst film ever. And I've seen all of the films in the world. You can't please everyone. So that idea of you need to be perfect. So you need to be perfect. It's okay for other people to be imperfect, aka fat, but it's not okay for you to be imperfect, aka fat. So that perfectionism and also those undiscovered fatphobic beliefs. Holding yourself to a higher standard because you believe that deep down you believe that you should be thin. If you are the best version of yourself, you should be thin. And that was a big thing for me for very long time, that I did so much self-development and I did so much therapy. And, you know, my life was seemingly put together and all that type of jazz, but I was not thin. Therefore, it was evidence that I didn't have my shit together. And if you had asked me at the time, is it okay for other people to be fat? Yes, of course it's okay for other people to be fat. Of course. And there's so many gorgeous fat people. Oh my God. Is it okay for you to be fat? Well, theoretically, yes, but I don't want to be. And I didn't want to be because I expected more from myself, because I deep down believed that actually it wasn't okay to be fat, because it wasn't okay for me to be fat. We can extend compassion towards others and be like, you know, I don't know what's going on in their life, whatever, they do them, nothing to do with me. But we can't extend the same compassion to ourselves whenever, even if we deserve it. And, you know, we say, oh, we don't know what's going on with other people in their lives. You know, you can't judge someone. And you're like, well, I can judge me because I know what my life has been. And then I talk to people who are judging themselves. And I'm like, hang on a minute. So you're telling me you've done this, this, and this, and then this bad thing happened to you, but then you still did this, and then you achieved this amazing thing, and you think that you're a piece of shit because you're fat? This doesn't make sense, because I'm able to extend that compassion to them, but they can't see it themselves. So try and see yourself from an outsider's point of view, and you'll probably be like, actually, I deserve some compassion. Strange that. It's like I'm a human being or something weird. Yeah. So So that's what I'm thinking about that stuff. Why you think it's okay for other people to be attractive. And listen, you're fat phobic, I'm fat phobic, we're all fat phobic, you know. Thanks for listening to the episode. And if you feel ready to get serious about this work and want to know when the doors open to Fierce Fatty Academy, which is my signature program where I teach all about how to overcome your fatphobic beliefs and learn to love your fat body, then go to fiercefatty.com/waitlist. Again, that is fiercefatty.com/waitlist to get your name on the waitlist for when Fierce Fatty Academy, my signature program, opens.